Hello there! In this tutorial we will look into the art of combining different selection tools for a perfect selection when dealing with subjects with very complex edges. Let's get started. Here we have an Eames chair by the famous designers Charles and Ray Eames. In this image we have fur, smooth curves, straight lines, and no selection tool will do all equally good. Especially these shiny metal legs, where the colors shift between bright and dark lines, will be very difficult to select with one of the automatic tools. But let's start with what can be selected semi-automatic. We use the quick selection tool to select the fur and the top part of the chair. We press Alt to subtract from selection down here and add a mask. If we double-click the mask, the Select and Mask properties opens. Let's view it on a color background. We can change the color if we click on the red box, but for now, red is fine. And let's bump it up to 100% opacity. By the way, we are in overlay view mode. It's easy to see that the fur needs a little work, and we simply paint with the Refine Edge brush to refine the selection. But remember never to paint too far into the chair. That could give us problems later on. Only around the fur tips. And press OK. If we press Alt or Option on the mask, we can see our selection so far. And if we press Shift on the mask, we temporarily hide the mask so we can continue selecting. Now we will use the pen tool to select the perfectly curved wooden parts down here. Let's zoom in a little and start drawing with this vector-based tool. We can correct on the fly if we press Command, that's Control on a PC, for the direct selection tool. That was the first one. And we can continue because Add to Selection is active. I press Command to correct a little. And I guess we are done. In the Path panel, we double-click to save the path, press OK, and Command-click the little icon to activate as a selection. Then we click on the mask to reveal the mask again, and we can Alt or Option-click to show the mask as an image and press Command Backspace to fill with white and Command D to deselect. It's a lot of shortcuts, I know, but you work so much faster if you can integrate them into your workflow. We Alt or Option click one more time and Shift click so we can see the whole image. Time to select the complex metallic legs. And I will actually do that with the very simple and old school Polygonal Lasso Tool. It's only for straight lines, but still usable for shapes like these because they mainly consist of straight tubes. Let's zoom in a little, and if we press Alt or Option while using the Polygonal Lasso Tool, it turns into the regular lasso, and as soon as we let go, we are back to Polygonal Lasso. We can also just click tight and often to follow an organic shape. I often do that on a high zoom level, but let's speed up the process for the repetitive and quite boring work here. Like that. We zoom out and fill with white again and deselect. Now we have combined 3 selection tools, but we are not quite finished yet. First we have to check if we made a decent job. Let's just add a color fill layer to check our selection. This is not mandatory, so feel free to skip this step if you want to try it out yourself. I will link to the images in the description below. Yes, I said images, because now we will paste our chair into this living room. We simply drag it up to the name bar and down in the image and release the mouse. That way the mask will follow. Now when we zoom in, we can see the mask still needs a little work. The black background is visible in the fur. Let's re-enter Select and Mask. And this time, View mode on Layers. We can try a little radius and Smart Radius. Well, not good enough. We go for the more destructive Decontaminate colors. Much better. But as you can see, it's also affecting the chair quite a lot. We cancel and dive into the mask by clicking Alt or Option. We have a tiny gray area here near the edge, not much, but enough for causing problems when using Decontaminate colors. We have to clean up the edge. We do that with Dodge set to highlights and slowly work around the edge. But be careful around the fur. Dodging and burning can easily erase details in the fur we want to keep. I can see the black needs some refinement too. We do that with Burn tool set to shadows. Now let's try again. We enter Select and Mask. View mode on Layers. A little radius. And Decontaminate colors. Let's check the result. Yes, definitely much better now the selection is more clean. Finally, we can scale for the right size with Command T. If we are insecure about what is the right size for the chair, we can turn it into a smart object. That way it will be a non-destructive scale. But in this case, I'll skip it. And now let's place this photo of me in the rocking chair. I masked this one out in advance. No need to do this twice in the same tutorial. Wow, this is a very small me. We need to upscale. And now Puppet Warp to place me in the right position. We can choose to show mesh or we can leave it hidden. For these simple alterations, we don't need it. If you want to learn more about Puppet Warp, please check out my How to Use Puppet Warp tutorial. I will link to it up here and in the description below. Well, let's put a pin in the knee. Now we can move the shape and a second pin and a little down and rotate the knee by pressing Alt or Option. And let's slowly find the right position. No need for too many pins. Small movements to keep it realistic. And one here in the foot so we can rotate for a more relaxed position. I think we need a few pins down here to lift the underside of the leg so it follows the chair's ankle. And we're done. And let's turn off the layer for a moment. Now we need a copy of the chair. Command J. Let's drag it above me sitting. And with the pen tool, we select the part covering my body when seated. A few corrections. And save the path. And again, we can turn it into a selection by pressing Command on the mask icon. Let's open the mask and let's zoom out so we can see the boundaries. And select Inverse and fill with black. Deselect and let's turn on this layer again. If we want some of the fur tips to show in front of the legs, we need to manipulate a little. Here we start by painting a little white in the mask to cover the legs and the back. And that white we can smudge a little with the smudge tool to make the edge a little furry. We can always refine this part later. Now all our selections are done and we only need to work with colors and light. But because we have all these selections to choose from, the color corrections is pretty straightforward. Let's start with a color balance adjustment layer to add a little yellow to the person layer, mainly to correct the skin tone. Then a photo filter adjustment layer to create shadows underneath the rocking chair. We invert the mask, Command I, so we have a black mask to begin with. And with the Polygonal Lasso Tool, we draw the shadow shapes. Then we press Command I again to turn the selected area white in the mask. Now we can control the feather non-destructively in the Properties panel. Let's fine-tune the shape a little. We can do that with a soft white brush and a low opacity. Now we mainly need to dodge and burn a little for the overall look and feel of the image, but that's not really the purpose of this particular tutorial. So I will quickly run through the layers, the background, the chair with all our selection methods, me sitting, and the armrest of the chair. And finally, all the small color improvements made by dodging and burning here and there. I guess that's it for today. I hope you learned how easily you can jump between the different selection methods, especially when the new automatic ways won't work on more complicated shapes. If you wish, you can continue watching one of my other tutorials, or you can download the images we used in this case. The link is in the description below. Thank you and goodbye.